This is a follow-up to a video I put out about 5 or 6 days ago called Zero to Hero, starting with 0 at age 55. And it's not an uncommon experience in America that someone may have $0 saved for retirement at age 55. About 1 out of 5 retirees may be in that situation. I suspect for solo retirees, it's even more people. But it's, of course, a very difficult position to be in, and I wanted to put together a game plan for an individual who was experiencing that at age 55. And some of the feedback and questions that I received in the example of Zero to Hero, I had someone putting away $3,000 a month. And the most basic feedback was, hey, that's a lot of money. Most people can't put away $3,000 a month. Can you do it with a more realistic amount? Yes, I can. Another bit of feedback that I received was, what about ageism? And it makes a very valid point. I had the person working until age 70, when the reality in America is most people are retired by age 64. Most people are retired by age 64. A lot of movement typically happens in early 60s, meaning between 60 and 64. Layoffs happen, people are shooed out the door. Typically, companies and businesses in the past had very neutral to negative perception of older workers, that they weren't as skilled or qualified as younger workers. They were slower, they have more health issues. There's a host of different rumors out there about older workers. Many of them are not even true, but there's been a rush to get rid of older workers. I think we're finally seeing a change in that mindset. It has to do with changes in demographics and technology. If you do a basic desk job that doesn't require a lot of physicality, and if there isn't a huge blowout in the job force with AI, you can reasonably expect to work longer in the future simply because of demographics. We don't have the demographics of people of working age to be able to sustain this if we have people who are retiring out at age 61. I decided to redo this example and change up the contribution amount and also show the distributions. That was another bit of feedback that I got. I stopped the contributions at age 70, and the person had over $1 million if they can contribute $3,000 a month between age 55 and age 70. But I didn't show the distribution of that and what that would look like for a solo retiree. So I'm going to get into that. So some few assumptions here. I'm still going to assume this person earns $100,000 a year. Let's say they're somewhere here in the Bay Area, but instead of a $3,000 a month contribution, which just may not be in the purview of reality for many people, this person is going to contribute $1,000 a month or $12,000 a year. If this person is earning $100,000 in California after taxes, they're left with about 5,200 a month. You can live pretty nice in California for 5,200 a month. It would be difficult in San Francisco unless you have a rent control department or some other unique housing situation. But you could probably live in Oakland, Walnut Creek, like one of the East Bay communities that are close and easily commute in. I'm also assuming that this person works for a company that gives them a 6% match, and I'm assuming a 2.6% rate of inflation for Social Security. If this person is working from age 55 to 70, I'm making a big assumption that this person is never promoted or anything like that. But we're just going to go with $1,000 a month to make this a little bit easier. But what I would, as a financial advisor, tell this individual is, as you get promotions and as you get pay increases, every dollar really needs to be going towards the retirement account. Like, it's no kidding around now. 100% of your pay increase needs to go into this retirement account. So even if you're getting 3% a year, next year your salary is 103,000, that $3,000 goes into your retirement account. For younger people with more time, typically what I tell them is, for pay increases and promotions, they split it. Half of it goes to lifestyle, half of it goes towards investments. But if you have nothing at age 55, pretty much it all should go to investments. So this is what self contributions look like: $12,000 a year. And I am going to give this person the benefit of working to age 70. I've already expressed my thoughts about ageism and how I think it's going to change into the future. Only about 18%, 18% of Americans age 70 and over are working. So this is pretty extraordinary. Typically, what happens is a person is laid off somewhere up here. Let's say this person makes it to 64 and they have a really difficult time finding a job. It may take them a year or two to find another job. And typically, that job doesn't pay as much as the job that they left when they were age 64. I'm hoping that changes in the future. I think it will because demographics support it. But that may happen in this person's situation, and they still would need to put away $1,000 a month. It really doesn't work until we get this person to age 70. That's when it clicks for this person. Let's take a look at this person's company match. Okay. So this person gets, let's say, $6,000 a year, 6%. Now, the company match should go up as the person's salary goes up, but that's getting a little bit too complicated. We're just going to give them an even $6,000 a year. So let's look. This is where it gets interesting. I wanted to look at the returns that this person was getting and then look at the withdrawals of this person. So let's say in year one, so they're starting with a $12,000 contribution. Their company is going to chip in $6,000 with a 21% rate of return, which is an 80-20 historical split. This is the 2003 based on the S&P 500. And I can't remember what bond yield this is, but based on the S&P 500 80-20 split, looking at 2003 data, this person would have about 21,000 in the account. It's slow to start. So this person would be saving aggressively. By year 5, they've hit the 100,000 mark. And then boom, 2008 happened. And this is really discouraging. This is where a lot of people throw in the towel or give up because it's pretty darn discouraging to put in $18,000 a year and watch it get swallowed by losses and to have to wait for that to come back. It's funny that I talk about 2008 because we're experiencing a bit of that right now as I record this video in 2026. I made my contributions, maxed out my contributions in my Roth 401k early in the year. That's already been consumed by losses in the market as of March 2026, late March 2026. And it's pretty darn discouraging. I put a lot of money into my Roth 401k, and to watch it evaporate over maybe a 3 to 5 day period was like, wow, that's pretty discouraging. So this kind of separates the people who are going to make it from the people who are not. The people who are not going to make it are going to get discouraged and stop. But since you're listening to me, to your rich auntie, not to stop here. If anything, you put money in it and you keep going forward. So boom, by 2032 or 2009, this person has already made up the money and just a tiny bit more. It takes time, but you'll get there. So this person keeps going and keeps going. And by time they are age 70, they'll have about $500,000 in a retirement account. Now, there's some caveats about this $500,000 in a retirement account. Whenever someone is saving for retirement, we typically use traditional retirement accounts, Roth retirement accounts, and a bank account. I would strongly suggest, in addition to this $500,000, that this person has money in a high yield savings account that they can easily access. I just went with traditional here. So every penny of this $506,000 is going to be fully taxable at the state and federal level. You don't want to use this as an emergency piggy bank. You want to have a source of money that you can tap into that is not related to taxable money. That's just a high yield savings account that you can get access to. How much should you have in a high yield savings account? As much as you can, to be perfectly honest. For working people, it's easy to say 6, 8, 12 months savings. But for retirees, the savings ideally would last you the rest of your life. If you only have 6 months saving, that's not going to last very long. That could be wiped out in a year or two with some bad losses. But every time there's an emergency, you don't want to have to dig into this taxable account. And it's going to deplete it much faster if you constantly are digging in this account for emergencies. You want to have a separate emergency account that's a high yield savings account that you can access. So let's look at the withdrawal rate. This is another interesting piece here. So I didn't go with the straight 4%. Why am I not using the straight 4%? I'm not a huge fan of the 4% rule. People who follow the 4% rule tend to have much more money at the end of life than they had in retirement. And that may be okay if you have children or if you have a next generation and you want to leave an inheritance to the next generation. It's not really a consideration for solo agers, right? There is no next generation. You want that last check to bounce. And you have to figure out what is a safe withdrawal rate. And it's probably more of a dynamic rate than a straight 4%, because a straight 4% is going to be a missed opportunity for you to spend and enjoy your own money while you are alive. I don't suggest doing a dynamic rate alone. This is really the domain of a financial professional. Do not consider what you're seeing here professional advice. I'm just pulling the numbers out of thin air for this example. It's a really more complicated equation I'm using to determine the person's withdrawal rate, including age, incomes, goals, risks, tolerance, personal situations, personal feelings. I'm just pulling these numbers out of thin air. So 2019 correlates with about almost a 25% rate of return on the S&P 500. I use 12% as the withdrawal rate. So this would give this person approximately $60,000 for the year, starting at age 71. Let's take a look at their Social Security. I gave this person more in Social Security, and I started this person's Social Security at age 70. They're going full Social Security, and their Social Security is also likely to be higher simply because they're earning more money. So 30,000, I'm probably shorting them, to be honest, on their Social Security. They probably would get more than, well, let's say Medicare, let's say some taxes, and they just end up with 30,000. For year one of this person's retirement at age 71, they'd have an income of $91,535. Now, all fully taxable at the state and federal level, but that's pretty darn good. And if a person was living in California, they probably could live in the Bay Area if they moved a little further out. Maybe they move towards Davis or Sacramento and have like maybe a 2-hour drive into San Francisco if they want to visit their friends and family. It's doable. The next year, which is 2020, there was about a 14% rate of return. I did an 8% withdrawal on the portfolio. This person with Social Security would have about $77,000. Now, this is a caveat about the dynamic withdrawal pace. Your income is it's difficult to calculate out. I really can't tell you what your income will be until the end of the year, and it may vary widely. For example, we have some years here between when this person retires at 70 and when this person is 90, where this person only may get $61,000. And then we have some years where this person may have over $110,000. So you have to roll with it when you're doing a variable withdrawal rate. It's also, I'm looking at a period of time between 2003 and today with unprecedented returns on the market. We've had a really good 2 decades in the stock market. This whole scenario falls apart if we go into a prolonged bear market or we go into a lost decade. There are periods of time where there is a lost decade in the market and there basically is no movement. At that point, pretty much everybody's retirement is falling apart and everyone's trying to figure out what to do at that point. But if we continue to have strong markets, and I'm knocking on wood here, this is doable for this person. This $500,000 can actually provide a pretty decent life because they're not following the 4% rule. They're being dynamic about it and they're being smart about how and when they take their money. During the fat years, they save for the lean years, and during the lean years, they spend the money from the fat years, and they can balance this equilibrium out. When you average all of these numbers together in terms of how much this person is earning for a living, probably 80s, mid to high 80s, something, that's a pretty good retirement for a solo person. It would allow them to remain in California in the Bay Area in one of the outer communities and enjoy their lives. Another caveat that we have to talk about here is inflation. $112,000, 35 years in the future is not $112,000 today. In fact, this is about half of the value today. So if you have $112,000, you really have more in the ballpark of $55,000. But this person at this period of time would be 90. You're past your go-go years. You're in your no-go years. You're not traveling. You're probably not dining out. You do have concerns about long-term care expenses, and you're not quite dying with zero here. You have about 661,000. But even the 661,000, due to inflation, this has probably seen a serious come down in value. This is probably worth, since you started saving at age 55, probably maybe in the ballpark of 160,000 worth, maybe 170,000. So it's cutting it pretty close. And if you do experience a long-term care event, there really isn't much of a buffer to keep you afloat. It seems impressive now, but we're not looking at it in today's dollars. We're looking at it in future dollars. So my point in going through this whole exercise is technically the sooner you start saving for retirement, the better. Doesn't always work out that way for people. Sometimes people do get a late start for a variety of reasons. You can start saving at age 55 if that's the only option you have, but you do have to put away a lot of money. This works with at least $1,000 a month. If you can put in more, great. But, if you start moving below $1,000 a month, the final number here when you get to 70 is not going to be as rich. This also predicates on you working until age 70. If you get laid off at 61, 62, 63, 64, things unravel very quickly because you can see the value at 64 is only 229,000. And most of the explosive growth in this portfolio happens in the last 3 to 5 years. So you have to plan on continue working. Even if you're laid off at 64, you will get another job and continue contributing to the 401k account. It's doable. It can happen. It's playing it close to the box. This would make me very nervous. And it's because it runs on the expectation of the person working until age of 70, which I know just isn't reality. Imagine pushing this forward 5 years. Instead of starting to save at age 55, you start saving for it at age 50. If you're laid off at 65, big deal. You've already hit the 506,000 number. You're good. You can retire. We probably could stretch it out another 5 years and it'll be fine. But when you're starting at 55 with nothing, it's really up against the box. And if anything goes wrong in this scenario, sickness, unemployment, change of jobs, change in a 401k plan, this comes undone. This falls apart pretty quickly. So there you have it. You can do this with $1,000 a month starting at age 55 and still have a retirement as a solo ager. Tell me what you think. Tell me what you like and what you don't like. And if you found this information useful, please share and subscribe.